You think that more revenue will fix all of your problems. We also thought this.
Increasing your revenue really just exposes your weaknesses unless your foundation is right. But basically our first year hitting $1 million, it was so much weight just on our backs trying to carry everyone through. And it was
a miserable $1 million.
It was this is not right.
Are you wrapping cars more than 12 hours a day, every day? Working nonstop but can barely get by? Burnout, missing deadlines, and wondering just how much longer you can keep this up?
That was us too. We started our wrap shop buried under $250,000 in debt, and it felt absolutely impossible. But we dug out, built a profitable shop, and are still in the trenches of owning and operating a wrap shop. We're here to share what we learned along the way so that you don't make the same mistakes that we did.
And we're here to help you with the business side of the wraps, like pricing, building a team, streamlining your systems, ultimately so that you can run your shop and your shop stops running you.
Welcome to the Wrap Ops Podcast, brought to you by Wrap Fam Unleashed. If I doubled your sales tomorrow, would your business actually improve? We're going to ask it one more time. Let us sink in. If I doubled your sales tomorrow, do you think that your business would actually improve? This is coming from kind of a compilation of talking to a lot of shop owners, seeing the results of content that everyone likes, being on these lives that we do once a week, which has mostly been Andrew recently. And, we kind of communicate after on how it went. It seems the common information that every wrap shop owner is looking for is increasing sales. But then when we dive in a little bit deeper, we are witnessing there's XYZ foundation that needs to be first before you just double your sales. Mm-hmm. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, it's taken us 9 years to answer yes to that question.
Exactly. So this episode, we wanted to provide basically what we think are the 4 symptoms that would indicate to you that there are issues outside of sales that are causing pain points in your business and things that you need to fix first before you focus on just letting the floodgates open and increasing your sales. So we've broken it down, like I said, into 4 quick ones. And I also want your mindset to be pretty open. So don't just listen to this episode and think, oh, I know exactly who they're talking about, or I have a buddy who does this. Really dig inward and think, man, do I exhibit any of these qualities that they're saying? And the good thing with that is the faster that you say, yes, I'm the issue, the faster you solve it. And you're the easiest issue to solve. So if it's a person on your team, that's always harder to solve, in my opinion. It's hard to fix someone else or fire and rehire. But if you are the issue, you could wake up tomorrow and be the owner that you need to be. So that's the good news here, is that it's an easy fix, hypothetically. Symptom number 1, you're solving today's problems instead of tomorrow's problems. So you're consistently putting out fires that are popping up just all day long. You just keep putting out these little fires instead of taking a step back and looking at the entire dumpster fire and putting the entire dumpster fire out. You're just putting out little embers that are popping off the side. So we came up with some examples of what this might look like in your shop to kind of conceptualize this for you. So the very first one is a customer called and you answered the phone and they are just super mad about something that went wrong in the process of getting a wrap done. So what is today's issue that they're solving?
Yeah. So first off, congrats for answering the phone. So that already makes you probably better than a competitor. And then secondly, let's change our mindset, because normally knee-jerk reaction is going to be, if someone's yelling at you and angry, you're probably, feeling that emotional heighten. Let's calm down and take this as an actual beautiful opportunity to figure out what in your process is wrong. Because if a customer is making up their own expectation about the result they should get, and you're not guiding them and giving them the expectation that they should be expecting, that's where customers are going to go wrong. So with that, I'll give an example. We had a customer that was absolutely irate because they had to wait 13 days to get their design. This was, I don't know, maybe a couple of years ago at this point, but it's a vivid memory. Called the front desk. Our front desk answered it. It escalated to me. And then in that conversation, we hadn't updated our process or system or verbiage from when a deposit was paid to design in 5 years. And it said to expect your first design concept in 3 days. Well, I'm not doing design anymore. We had a whole team. Like there's a whole process and system that does design without any of like my involvement at all. But when that when that gets bottlenecked, it could take up to 2 weeks. So in the conversation with the customer, one, made sure he felt heard, told him sorry about it, but then ultimately just bluntly asked him is if our message that went to you said do expect a design within 14 days and you got your design in 13, would you have been happy or still frustrated? And he immediately was like, oh no, like that would have been fine. Just my expectation was 3 days and I got a design in 13. And he should rightfully so be upset about that. So with that, when a customer is upset, one, if you're answering that call off the rip and you're answering every call, that might be like the first bottleneck in the whole operation. Like, get that off your plate. But, different talking point for this one. Take that customer that is upset and really own the 20% that's your fault. Figure out what part of that process, the system needs to be improved so that they know moving forward, every customer that comes with a food truck with rust on it, that the wrap is going to not, last there. It's going to fail. You can't put wrap on rust. But if you don't tell them that expectation, you're just assuming that that customer is an expert in wraps. You have to give them the right expectation.
So essentially, you see how he had to take all that time to figure out this one problem for this one customer. So let's say that took an hour that day, that maybe you should have been working on something else to grow your business. So if that one problem popped up one time, if your sales doubled overnight, now that problem is popping up 2 times the next day. If you think about it, if you never take a step back to actually deal with what is the actual problem here, if I take this avatar of a person out of it, if I take this exact customer out of it, what is the actual issue here, and how can I make a process that never has that issue again? So that then, like, I always want to say, solve a different problem. Like, let's knock this one out and let's move on to a different one. So the other thing there that you mentioned too is hiring. I would highly recommend, one of our first hires was someone to answer the phones, and that's a huge help. Yeah. Even if they don't know anything, just getting that constant interruption off your plate. And it's also one of the easiest ones. So more to come on that. But another thing I want to talk about too is when you are in the fires and your day is drowning, I think the biggest thing you can do is time block your own calendar. And what that would look like is you could put an hour on tomorrow's schedule for come up with a job description for my front desk person, because I'm going to hire a front desk person to help me out. And you can do these little time blocks to build this position and set this goal of, I'm going to hire someone on January 15th. So that means 2 weeks before I need to make my hiring decision. 2 weeks before that, I need to have the ad out. That's my interview process. So then you're kind of like actually running your life instead of it completely just running you. So it's no longer show up to work and see what the day throws at you. It's look at your calendar. Oh, shoot, next week is interviews. I need to make sure I have my questions ready. I need to make sure everyone has their, they know where they're coming. They know what to wear, blah, blah, blah. All of those things. So your calendar will tell you more about your success than anything else, in my opinion. Like if I could say, let me see your calendar, I could tell you, in my opinion, if you are successful or not.
Yeah.
So keep that up your sleeve. So the next example could be that if you print in your own shop, that your printer broke. And so immediately you're stopping to figure out why the printer broke and to get it up and running again. You want to go into this one?
Yeah. So depending on the volume in which you print, I would say generally speaking, if you're to the point in business where you actually do need a printer, which means that printer is running all the time, it should come with a print operator. So it almost goes hand in hand with it. That should be part of that decision-making process. Is it's time to buy a printer? Well, it also is probably time to hire a print operator. And then that also is a little bit of motivation to where if that print operator only needs to work, 29 hours a week to run your printer, well, that's a little bit of fire under your ass and motivation to like, okay, let's grow this. I have some bandwidth on my printer. Because those problems are tough. When your printer goes down, it doesn't matter like what you are doing, like that you need to spend all of your time on that problem. And if you are the bottleneck to that, which means when that goes down, you personally have to stop everything you're doing to work on it, you'll never be able to double in sales. Doubling in sales will just expose really just your weakness and process and operation. So my answer to your printer goes down and you have to work on it, what happens? It's like, well, you're where you're at fault is you don't have a print operator. So
yeah. So that would be today's problem would be fixing the printer. Tomorrow's problem that you should be solving is, holy crap, I need someone to fix this printer for me. So you're hiring your print operator. And then the other thing too would be like assessing your equipment. Time to go to trade shows, talk to people and see, is it the equipment itself? And is it time to upgrade?
Yeah.
So that would be tomorrow's problem.
If you hired your printer operator and then your printer is still going down like every month, it's like, all right, does my printer operator actually just not know how to operate the printer?
Yeah.
Or is it time to look into new equipment? Because now you're operating as owner and making those decisions of my print operator being down as often as it is actually now bottlenecking my print operator. And as an owner, that's your problem to solve is, all right, my print operator is being bottlenecked by the equipment.
Yeah.
We had to fight.
And I think something you said there makes a lot of sense of, I think it's easy when a fire pops up in front of you to step into that specific role and solve that problem. Like an install problem pops up. Okay, you put your installer hat on and you go solve it. A print problem pops up. You put your print operator hat on and you go solve it. And you do that for every position. How can you be the owner and keep your owner hat on and actually fix the problem? And I think that is this huge transition. You just recently did one of the Q&As, one of the live Q&As on the Rack Institute, where it said going from installer to operator. And you had a really good turnout. And I think it's because it is such a hard shift to kind of like flip your mindset of just like, okay, I could fix this problem for you, or I could empower you to fix it yourself so that I can get back to what I'm doing, which maybe that's more hiring, more sales, process fixes, whatever that might be. So,
yeah. And as we've transitioned from installer to operator, it doesn't mean our printer going down means that I have no clue what's going on or anything like that. It just means I'm not spending my entire day on it.
And you're typically the last line of defense. So our printer operator has XYZ she needs to go through before she comes up to Andrew and says, I have no freaking idea what's going on. So, and that's every position here has that. And so you just want to make sure you're building your team, you're building out your positions, even if it's only two of you.
Yeah.
You can go ahead and build the position and run it.
And even to that, if we just stay on the printer goes down example, like the logical next step when she's exhausted everything she knows how to do, if it came to me, all I'm going to do is then submit a support ticket, call a 1-800 number, tech support to like try to line that up. So even that isn't on me. It's like, okay, let's talk about it. All right, you've tried that. Now go put the tickets in, go call the 1-800 number. And then I don't know, this is a recent thing. Our printer was actually just down, and Elena, print operator, is 100% handling it, jumping through all the hoops, lining up the tech, working with the tech to try to figure out what's going on, replacing the parts. And I'm just peeking in maybe 2 to 4 times today. So you're just like, hey, any progress? What have we learned? What's going on?
5 years ago, that was not the case. 5 years ago, Andrew was up all night trying to fix it. And then when it would work, he would be up all night trying to get it printed. And then we're up all night trying to get it installed on time. And then we're up all night calling the customer, we're late. Can we have another day? Can we have another day? And it would just keep piling. So if you're stuck in this downward, pile, like a rock rolling downhill, it just keeps getting faster and you can't get ahead of it. You have to take a step back and realize, what help do I need? What time is that going to give me back on my plate? And then what am I going to do with that free time? Because if you're just taking that free time and going out on your boat, you're not solving anything.
Yeah.
So.
And if you loop it back to your opening question of just if we doubled your sales, would that be?
The printer would definitely go down even more.
If that is the scenario you're in, imagine all of those stresses, all of that print, but now you have double the volume at what you are trying to handle running through it. Like all it's going to do is expose you and really wreck your business more than help it.
Let's do one more example to really bring it home.
Okay.
The last one I want to do, and this is because our shop gets a lot of phone calls from other shops wanting to last minute buy vinyl for something.
Oh, yeah.
So the issue here is that your vinyl did not arrive on time and you're panicking because you have your deadline, you need your vinyl. This is probably more for like a color change scenario, or it could be for a print job if you're waiting on that roll of the printed vinyl to come in.
Or design line. We've gotten many calls from shops.
Run out of design line, things like this. So the immediate, put the little fire out solution would just be, call other shops, see if they have vinyl, call the distributors, see if someone can overnight it to you. But you're on the phone trying to figure this out. The ultimate problem is why are we ordering vinyl the day of the project or the day before or whatever it may be. You should have some sort of inventory system where you're ordering weekly, biweekly, whatever works best for you, and making sure that your inventory doesn't drop below a certain amount. And that's just a set process. You just run it every week or whatever your cadence is. But you have to take the time to step back. And I know ours is very simple. It's a Google Sheet. We literally I went back and I, on a Google Sheet, typed in every item that we use. And then we decided what our minimum was. Like our 0 is going to be 2 rolls of design line. When we get below 2 rolls, we will order more. Or sorry, when we get right at 2 rolls, we'll order more. But all that to say, it's a process. And it's just a simple fix. But I had to take that time in the middle of these fires to go back there with my computer and, write every single product that we purchase. And then it's gotten better over time. So that's the other thing. Your process doesn't have to be glamorous and beautiful in the beginning. It just needs to be done. And then you can make it prettier and make it more streamlined and more efficient. I mean, our still to this day, that inventory document's a living document that gets updated all the time. I actually have something I need to do to it right now that's on my list.
It's really as we're continuing to grow, the biggest thing on updating is just that cushion. So we had a recent problem where we're growing, we're starting to print way more. And I think our minimum was like, once we get to, 4 rolls of laminate, that's the trigger that
we need to buy more.
Yeah, then we'll buy more laminate. Well, we're printing enough that we outran our coverage. So we actually ran out of material, like of laminate, a day before the next shipment was supposed to arrive. So I added a few rolls to that trigger. So now I think it was 4. Now it's when we get to 6.
But that's a perfect example. So you could have just logged on to our distributor, bought more vinyl, been done with it. But you went onto the inventory sheet and upped that. So that next week that didn't happen.
Yep.
Type thing. So that's what we're talking about here. If we're really bringing this point home of like, what is the actual problem and how do you solve it for tomorrow and not just for today?
After years of running a wrap shop, I've learned this. Your supplier should be a partner, not a question mark. That's why we trust Grimco. For over 5 years now, they have delivered on time and backed us when it mattered most. There's enough to manage in this business. Your supplier should not be one of them. Set up your new account today. Use code RAPOPS5 for 5% off your first order with Grimco.
Kind of the commonality between all of these solutions were hiring people, properly onboarding, training, creating the systems, making sure your team knows the systems, and being diligent enough to run those systems even when things get hard. Which brings me to symptom number 2. This one's my favorite. Your business lacks routine. And by that, we mean maybe you did take time to create that inventory system, but you haven't ran it in 2 months. Or you did take time to hire that front desk person, but you haven't done a check-in with them, created a task list for them. They've asked for 5 different things that they need to make their job easier. You haven't gotten back with them. So just what are your weekly routines that you do no matter what happens? And that being said, we're not perfect. So one of the examples I have here,
Well, I was going to say, and as you're growing your team, at least from what we've seen, it's my schedule, as much routine as we try to put into it, is the least routine out of all of them because I'm working on the business. So it feels like every month or every quarter, we are changing a little bit of direction of like this quarter, we're leaning into this department, we're building this up. So my schedule is the least routine. But if you go to our front desk, I mean, it's literally a Google Sheet every single day with checkboxes of like, this is what you're doing every single day.
Yeah, I would say every team member has a very routine day here, and that's on purpose. But even as the owner, you do have routine things that are on there, which I'm actually going to give an example of our recent disagreement. So if you've listened to our episodes before, we harp on it, we live by it, that you should be having one-to-ones with every employee on your staff. I also had a baby. So Andrew took over a lot of like the day-to-day, and I'm more behind the scenes now. But I still, because I'm a complete control freak, I check in on how things are going, which I know you just love when I do. And so Andrew was out one day. I don't remember where you were. It was like something work related. It wasn't like you were out for no reason, but you were out like at a different networking meeting or something. And for some reason, I got a wild hair at my butt that I was like, I'm going to go attend the whiteboard meeting. We have a whiteboard meeting that happens twice a day, every day. And for some reason, I just wanted to join this whiteboard meeting. I think because we had like an employee anniversary and I wanted to announce it and something like that. Anywho, I attend this whiteboard meeting, and as I'm standing there, I notice we have a whiteboard that has metrics on it that get uploaded every week. And I notice it's like 5 weeks behind. And so I'm like, that's weird. And then I just happened to ask at the end of the meeting, I'm like, how are your guys' one-to-ones going? And they're like, oh, we haven't had a one-to-one in a couple weeks. Andrew keeps saying he's going to do it this time and he's going to do it this time, and we haven't heard. And this is where I was wrong. I shouldn't have done this part, but this is the implication of being married to the person I'm checking on. I may have lost it a little bit. Like, I'm on the phone immediately, like, step out of your meeting, we need to talk. And immediately was just like, why are we not doing the one-to-ones? What is happening with these meetings? And the reason that I got so angry personally is because I feel responsible for building those systems and cadences, and they've proven to be completely successful. So to hear that all of a sudden it just stopped being ran for whatever XYZ reason it was really triggered me. Because back in the day when we didn't do one-to-ones and we didn't do production meetings, that was when all this animosity grew between the whole staff, and we would have just whole teams walk out all in one day. And so it's like kind of getting hit with this PTSD bubble of like, oh my God, he hasn't done one-to-ones in 2 weeks. The whole team's about to walk out and flip us the bird on the way out. Was where my mind went. But I will say, you did immediately come back and you that day knocked out everyone's one-to-one. Have you done a production meeting?
Tomorrow.
We'll see. Time will tell. But I also want to point out.
I did one yesterday or last week.
Okay, perfect. So you did it last week.
Yeah.
The point I want to say is we're not perfect either. There are weeks that get crazy. There are fires that get put out as we grow. There are issues that are coming up too that we're trying to deal with. But trying to stay as consistent as possible is definitely key. So the big takeaway, I think, from symptom number 2 of you lack routine in your business is you don't need to double sales and you don't need this awesome strategy to do so. You just need to be consistent in what you're doing week to week and like run that for 90 days. And if you're not getting the results you want, assess it for the next quarter and come up with like, we're going to change this for next.
So my side of that story, which will reinforce a lot of what you just said.
This is like court TV.
It was not just a generic networking meeting. It was like an entrepreneurial mastermind where I had a really heavy hunch that who was going to be in the room as an active hot opportunity for 10 full truck removals and re-reps. So that was like the only networking meeting I even took for like 3 weeks. The reason we weren't having one-to-ones is my head was down trying to develop our sales reps because we're to the point now where we need people full-time focused on going out and hunting. I communicated that to the team, obviously not well, but I communicated that to the team of like, hey, our one-to-ones are a little weird. They're not normally, they're not going to happen as normal because I really got to work on getting these sales reps onboarded, like the whole thing to get them onboarded to the team. If there is something you want to talk about, by all means, interrupt whatever I'm doing. Let's have that one-to-one in conversation. But I don't have any feedback that we need to talk about right away. This is what I'm working on. Regardless of what I said, how often I said it, or how much I said it until I was blue in my face, when she checked in with the team, they were chaotic of like, oh, we don't have no idea when they're happening. We're not doing them, whatever, was the feedback I got. So it doesn't matter how, enticing or shiny object the sale I was trying to make was. At the end of the day, my job, my responsibility is the team and the team that I'm building. And those one-to-ones are obviously important. We know that. So I left that meeting, gave up the opportunity to try to get in front of that 10 truck, project, came back and immediately had all my one-to-ones. Let's make sure the whole team is grounded. And then the next week passed that lead to one of our sales reps who just in a couple days of having that lead has already made more progress than I ever did with it. So just to kind of reinforce I was in that hypothetical now that we have sales reps hunting that 10 truck rep, but that was pretty much a different way of saying that the printer went down and I was working on the printer. So we hired the sales reps. So now at that point, there's no reasons I should be missing one-to-ones or what is where my time should be being.
And I think you bring up a good point here of like, even as you grow, you're solving the same problems again and again. They're just kind of taking on like different mass almost. Like, because what you just said, there was a fire in front of you and you put it out instead of solving it. So yeah, that's that. Okay, ready to move on? Symptom number 3. So symptom 3 is the problem, but you will not become the person that will solve it. This one is probably my biggest pet peeve in entrepreneurs across the board.
Yeah, I love this one. And it really is like if you're going to take one of these away, it's this one. You will never ever have $1 million business ever. You'll never achieve it if you don't become $1 million CEO that's running that business. You will never, if your level of leadership and growth and understanding of business is a 4, you will never have a level 10 business. You'll never be able to attract talent or people on your team above a level 4. Like,
and this I think goes really deep, and we talk about this all the time about like, it's not like me and Andrew have a plethora of friends.
Yeah.
Not that we're like mean people, but it's hard to have conversations like this. Hence why we record it and post it out to the public. This is our conversation. And this is really how like a lot of our dinners go. This is like what we're talking about as well when we're like on a date or whatever. It's hard to find people that are okay with going through the changes required to run an awesome business, because what happens is your previous friends or your existing friends or even your family, they kind of make fun of you for and we talked about it before, being corporate. It's tough. And I just vented to you the other day. I'm like, man, it's lonely out here because I don't have like a girlfriend I can get coffee with and discuss strategizing business together and what the next move is and how fun it is. And this is what I'm learning. And this is the podcast that I'm listening to learn this new skill, because most people don't do that.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of the hard part. So if you want to get out of the day-to-day of your business and you want it to run effectively, you kind of have to be a little bit nerdy and be okay with people talking down about it and be okay turning down the Friday night party to get work done. Like we've switched to morning people. We love to wake up and have a strong cup of coffee in the morning. But yeah, so all that to say too is when you're looking at yourself and you see deficits of basically, I'm not good at sales, I'm not good at marketing, I'm not good at leading a team, there's really no excuse in today's technology era to not educate yourself. There's so many resources. I mean, you're listening to this podcast, so go you, because that's one of them.
Yeah.
It's just there's a lot of podcasts and information out there.
And my quick push on that is listen to this podcast. That's awesome. Please keep listening. This is a good time to pause. If you haven't liked, subscribed, shared this podcast to a friend, please do so for us. But if all you do is listen and that's it, like we're no different than a true crime podcast. Like why even listen if you're not going to do anything?
Yeah.
Like you have to actually learn. You have to attempt. You have to, pick yourself back up, fail, try again.
Ask for help.
Yeah, like actually go try to implement something. Like if you heard this and you had to click away from this podcast because the front desk phone rang and you had to go answer it, or even worse, you just like let it go to voicemail.
Mm-hmm.
Like go try hiring your first person. Like
worst case scenario, it doesn't work out. You go your separate ways and you move on. It'll be okay.
Mm-hmm.
It used to terrify me to hire people for that reason, because I felt like I need to be married to them and they need to stick around with this business forever. And all I can do is the best that I can do. And if they stick with me, great. And if they don't, they don't. And it is what it is.
Yeah.
So another cool thing too is when you can start viewing your failures as really cool learning moments, you almost get like excited to fail. Quick example here. So I wanted to streamline our design process a little bit because I'm anticipating, since we have these sales reps on, that designs are going to increase. And I'm like, we need to increase that communication there. So I implemented this form that's going to take new customers' information, their design thoughts and things like that, and really streamline that. I used a Google form. I've used Google Forms before, more for internal than external, and it's gone pretty well. All these issues kind of started to pop up. And I'm over here thinking, it's just a little issue with something I set up and I'm fixing the form. I'm also helping out with the rap event that's happening in Las Vegas on November 4th. So make sure, shameless plug, you got to attend that event if you're going to SEMA. But anyway, I set up the nomination form. So by the way, nominations are open if you want to nominate people for awards. I set up Google Forms for all of those. And like the floodgates opened up all these issues with these forms. And at first I was annoyed. And then I was like, this is exciting because I'm going to completely learn a new form system, in which I did. So if you go nominate now, it's not through Google Forms, it's through a whole separate software. And it was really exciting to learn that. But if it didn't crash and burn on me first, I wouldn't have learned that. And literally today, I got a text from someone saying, hey, I'm trying to do this Google form and people keep telling me it's not working. Like, do you know what's wrong with it? I'm like, I do. I know exactly what's wrong with it. And the issue is just get off Google form. It's not worth it.
Yeah.
So anyhow, when you start kind of viewing like, oh, cool, I failed. So now I get to spend an hour researching forms, as silly as it sounded, it is cool to now feel like a tiny expert in online forms and surveys, which sounds so silly. It's not something I would like put on a resume, but it's just a little piece of knowledge that I got to add.
But it stacks.
It stacks. And maybe one day we're going to really need a form for something and I'm going to know exactly how to do it quickly.
Well, I mean, it's just like that's one, in your words, one small skill. But now that you've learned that form with that, there's all other applications that you can now probably implement this new form system into other parts of the business. But that is the thing you learned on Tuesday.
Yeah.
That you now have for the next 10 years. So it's just one of those, like, how many small things can you learn? Like, we hired sales reps, first time ever hiring sales reps. As I'm working with them, it's forcing me to hone and redefine and just get better at everything we're doing. We started outbound calling today for the first time. And I had a script. I've done loose outbound before. And as I'm literally just a round robin, we're running it, I'm listening it. I'm just tearing what I came up with apart. Cause I'm like, I thought that was a good hook, but in reality, that isn't what actually happens. It's okay. That isn't, and like the whiteboard behind the screen here is just me scribbling all over it of like, I hate this, I hate this, I hate this. So just to nail the outbound call, I'm going to spend probably multiple days of iteration. I'll probably get to version 14 before it's like, okay, we've nailed it. I've got the best outbound form for sales reps, and that lives on forever. So hopefully, the reps we brought on, I think they're rock stars, but whether it's them or it's the next one, it's like we have now, that is one small piece of this massive puzzle we're building that we have nailed.
But I also think to bring that point home, you could have been like, oh, this is the sales pitch I've personally used and it's gotten us $1 million in sales. So just use it and it's going to work. But the version of yourself that you are right now is not going to be the same version of you that's successful later. Like you're going to have to change as a person, especially as you start building a team and bringing team members on. You start dealing with like the psychology behind your whole team. You really have to be almost a completely different person. Like I look back to how we were, even 2 years ago, and I'm like, man, I don't even know that girl. I don't even know that dude.
Yeah.
Like we're like totally different people than we were 2 years ago. So you just have to accept that change. And if you are absolutely clinging to a past tense version of you, it's not going to work. Yeah. So if that sounds like you might be experiencing that third symptom. So moving on to our fourth and final one and wrapping things up here is what we were talking about. You think that more revenue will fix all of your problems. And I'd like to say we were also guilty of this. We also thought this. And I think it's very common because you just think, oh, more money, it's going to fix everything. But what they say, more money, more problems. That's what they say. And it is true.
He
was just a laugh. He didn't laugh. I'm like, insert a laugh there, Bryn.
That's funny. Yeah, no, it really is the more money, more problems. Increasing your revenue really just exposes your weaknesses unless your foundation is right. We were misguided in that for a long time of just more revenue, more revenue, more revenue. I can't remember what the exact number was, but basically our first year hitting $1 million completely crumbled. Like it was so much weight just on our backs trying to like carry everyone through. And it was
a miserable million.
It was like, this is not right. So we intentionally stopped looking at revenue as the goalpost and then started looking through systems, process, which we already kind of were system and process motivated, but definitely not to the extent it needed to be. And then in restructuring, we took a down year, give or take the next year was like a $200,000 less year because it was like, you know what, screw it. I'm not putting all this on my back anymore. And that was the real trigger to really start building process system, bring in good people, empower them to solve their own problems. And now we are running at a rate far superior to what we've ever done historically.
And it feels better.
And I still get to go home relatively on time and spend every evening with my son. Two years ago, that wouldn't happen. We'd hit $1 million, but I would have hit. It was. We weren't in all nighters anymore, but it was 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. 7 days a week. There really was no personal life hardly at all. And now we are operating at a much higher capacity with much less on our plates because everyone has their role. They have ownership of it. They understand the assignment. They have their expectations, and they're great people.
And I think it's worth noting too, when you mentioned we cut back. So we had a team at the time, I think it was like maybe 6, and we cut back to 4. It was me and you, 1 installer and 1 print operator. And that was it. That was all we had. But even going all the way back to when it was just me and you, we would make systems and processes and we would run it as if we had someone hired in that position. And I say that to you all the time of like, well, if it wasn't you, how would we run this? If this was an employee, so that when you can bring on that employee and you're training them, it's natural to teach this is the flow of thing. And you're not like trying to learn it with them. And they think this is the way things have always been ran. So if you have new people coming into chaos and they're kind of going to act chaotic, but if you can bring them in, like this is the job and this is exactly what I need you to do, then they will be very calm. Unless you have some job description that says this is chaos, I need to hire someone to fix it. That's a whole different story though.
Yeah.
But anywho, so I just want to bring up that, we had an attendance policy when it was just me and him. And we would joke all the time of like, oh crap, we would have been fired by now. So you can set an attendance policy if you are the sole person in your business and go ahead and start running that. You can set your SOPs if it's just you and one other person, and you can start running that. You don't need to wait until you have a team of 10 to build all of those systems. And in fact, I think if you did wait, you would lose those initial 10 anyway, because it would be such a culture shock to them and they would feel micromanaged to switch. So if you do have an existing team and you start implementing systems, be ready to lose the current team. That happens, but it's like kind of shed away the old and gain the new, and it'll all work out.
Yeah, no, that's exactly what I was going to say is if you have a team of 10 and you're like, man, I just can't get through this glass ceiling. You're exactly where we were, where it was just, maybe the revenue is looking, good. You can brag about it, but like, you are just 7 days a week at all hours. You're the bottleneck to everything. And it's like, all right, I'm done with this. Let's start building the systems, the process, and all of that. By all means, hopefully you have at least a couple, solid people.
Which was the 2 that stayed on that I mentioned earlier. We had 2 that were like, let's do it. Let's fix it.
And they would be like bought into that vision. And they're like, yeah, give me a paddle. We're going to row this boat together. But the likelihood is you're going to lose the majority of the team because they just weren't onboarded and on like it's just tough. Quite frankly, you've lost their respect is really the biggest where it comes down to.
Yeah. And that's probably the hardest thing to hear of business owners when they talk about their team and the way that people let kind of employees run all over them. But then also the flip side of like they run all over their employees. It's hard to hear both sides of it. So yeah, you kind of have to gain that respect, and gaining it back is a lot harder than just giving it than it always being from the
because the next person you hire, it's like, hey, this is our way of doing things. This is how we do it. It's a lot easier to bring them on to the right way of doing things than to try to convert somebody that's you've tainted. Yeah.
So hopefully you've listened to these 4 symptoms, and I hope you didn't self-assess and go, oh, all of those are me. But if they are, don't stress. That's good news, because it means you are the bottleneck, which means you're also the solution. So you can fix this. You can get the work in, get it done. You don't need to hire some crazy coach. You don't need to pay $1 million. You just need to be diligent, plan out your calendar, ask for help, ask how other people are doing it, because your business is perfectly designed to produce the results that you're putting into it. And it's not going to match anyone else's work ethic. So awesome. Any closing remarks?
If your business isn't where it wants to go, it's your fault.
Oh, okay.
So
sounds good.
Yeah.
If you haven't already, please like and subscribe to the Wrap Ops podcast. We're on YouTube too. If you'd rather watch the visuals of what's going on, check us out on Instagram, Facebook, all of the above. And don't forget that you can also email in and ask any question that you have. And we will catch you in the next episode. Thanks for listening to us.
The Rap Institute, the largest online rap training platform, now with a special offer. Use our code RAPOPS15 for 15% off your order.